Now on Indianapolis This Week.
Quite simply, we believe the mayor's veto is irresponsible, and this action leaves our police officers and their families profoundly disappointed.
Money necessary to protect police and your safety, or a waste of your tax dollars. The fight over the mayor's decision to reject money to pay for some IMPD projects. Plus, fixing the state's image after the religious freedom debate. And a possible new candidate for governor, our insiders weigh in on the possible challenge to Mike Pence.
From RTV6, the Indy Channel, this is Indianapolis This Week with Rafael Sanchez.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Rafael Sanchez. Let's start with that fight over public safety funding in Indianapolis. We're talking about Prop 47. If you haven't heard of it, it's an ordinance calling for $4.7 million in specific funding related to public safety. It includes some new patrol vehicles, plus upgrades to the police firing range and other training facilities. Mayor Greg Ballard vetoed the ordinance last week. Now the council could very well vote to override that veto in the coming week. Joining us now, Rick Snyder with the FOP. There seems to be, Rick, a battle between you and the mayor's office when it comes to funding police. Why is that fight going on right now?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a battle. There is definitely a difference in philosophy here. The FOP is very focused on ensuring that all the work that was done to raise the public safety tax will result in those dollars going for that purpose, which is public safety. Our overriding concern, and we've been very consistent in speaking to this, is that those funds would get diverted and spent on other projects. And this is an example that this veto has raised that adds to that concern.
Some in the mayor's office have raised the concern that money, the $4 million, is not in the budget, that the city cannot afford this right now, so why even push it? That's why the mayor vetoed the bill.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's being explained that way. The money is actually there.
So the money is there?
Absolutely. It's $4.7 million of an overall $16 million amount of tax revenues that have come in from this increase. That $16 million has not been spent, the full amount. These are the fund balances that exist, and we are simply saying that this is the time to take care of these logistical infrastructure needs.
So if someone is telling us that the money is not there, are they misleading us?
I think it would be a fair question to ask and also demonstrate that the money is not actually
But I'm
there.
asking you, is someone misleading us if they tell us that the money is not there to spend on police equipment and training facilities?
Yeah, I would say it's not factually correct.
You are pushing now for an override.
Absolutely.
Of this bill. What does that entail, and will you be able to win that override?
Well, we had overwhelming bipartisan support for this proposal when it passed the first time. We had 9 Republicans that voted with the entire Democratic caucus for this, because everyone recognized the needs are there. They are not going away, and this is the opportunity we have to take care of them. On Monday, we will have to have 20 votes to override, which means we would expect the potential to be there, given the strong support that it had originally.
Do you think you're now caught in the middle of a political fight? We are in the middle of a campaign for mayor, a race for mayor. Has this now become political?
Well, I think any time that you're talking about these issues and you have the differences, that question gets raised. What we are consistent in saying is this is one area where we should be able to set political differences aside. This is about the safety of our community, the safety of our police officers, and no one disputes that we need it. And we actually took steps collaboratively to raise the funds to be able to do these things, and that's what we hope to see happen.
Mayor Ballard has said that public safety is a priority. So why is it that you find yourself at odds with the mayor who says that he believes in police officers and firefighters and EMS? I mean, why are you at odds with someone who would say that?
It's much like this vote on the council tomorrow night. It's one thing to say that you're supportive of public safety and police officers, but we actually look at actions and what people are doing. And I don't know why the concern or the thought is there to shift these dollars, but the mayor has made it very clear that he believes these dollars should be allocated somewhere else. That being the Fiscal Stability Fund. I would just simply say this, Raphael, if the money is not there, it's not available to be spent on these projects, how is the money there to be shifted to the Fiscal Stability Fund? You can't have it both ways. We have been consistent It should not be shifted. It should go for what taxpayers meant for it to go to, which is to support their police officers.
Final question, can you wait till 2016?
We cannot. These dollars should not be available for this purpose, because next year they should be being used for even more officers that are to be hired next year. So this is, the time is now, and this is the only opportunity we really have to do this. Otherwise, when it comes to the budgetary process, elected officials will be forced into picking and choosing. Should we do more officers or take care of these needs? Because one thing is for sure, the needs are not going away.
Rick Snyder with the FOP, thank you so much. Come back anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And now let us get the city side. Joining us, Jen Pittman, the communications director for Mayor Greg Ballard. At his office, joining us now on the program. You heard him that the money is there. Why not spend the money now? He says you can't wait till 2016, Jen.
Well, the money is there now, but it wasn't in 2014. In 2014, we needed money to hire new officers, and as part of the budget compromise that we reached with the council, a loan was taken out of the Fiscal Stability Fund to hire more officers. The mayor is absolutely committed to public safety and funding critical needs, but we also have to keep an eye on the financial health of the city. It's important that we pay back the loan to the Fiscal Stability Fund that was taken out in 2014, and that's our priority right now. You
can't move money around. Can you explain that loan process? Because you were telling me that this is a loan that could also impact the city's credit rating. So
that's absolutely right.
How does that work?
The Fiscal Stability Fund is effectively our savings account, and that's something that ratings agencies look at when they decide how to rate the city's credit. Right now, we're rated quite well. We have a AAA rating, but I can tell you on the ratings calls with Fitch and Moody's and other ratings agencies, the first question they ask is about the Fiscal Stability Fund, and in particular, they're curious about the status of this loan. Have we repaid it yet? Are we going to repay it soon?
You mentioned that it's the city's money. We have a big checkbook. Why not move money around to cover that loan to pay for this one?
The public safety income tax that we're talking about now is a $16 million new revenue source that came in this year. We have used money from that $16 million already in this year to fund new officers, to fund new apparatus for IFD. Those are critical needs of the public safety agencies. But this particular piece of funding that we're talking about with Prop 47, none of the needs here were identified by our public safety agencies as critical. And because of that, and for the fiscal health of the city moving forward, it's important that we pay back that loan from 2014 to the Fiscal Stability Fund.
Does the mayor find himself at odds with his own police department?
Oh, no. We're not at odds with the police department. And in fact, Rick hit the nail on the head. Most of the time, we're on the same page. We have a philosophical difference, though, at times about how to spend money. When our public safety agencies come to us with a critical need, we work to find a way to fund that need, and that's the case here. With Prop 47, there was some communication that was lacking. None of the needs identified in this proposal actually originated from the public safety agencies. Will
you find the money? At the end of the day, will you find the money to cover this stuff?
If our agencies tell us they have a critical need, we'll work to find the money. In this particular case, again, we want to see that communication happening with the public safety agencies before something gets to the council.
And is there a plan B if there is an override on Monday?
If there's a veto override, it's a procedural tool that the council can use, just like a veto is a procedural tool that the mayor can use. If we get to that point, the one thing we'll be pushing for is that continued communication with public safety agencies to make sure any money that's spent is being spent to fund critical needs.
Jen Pittman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor's Communications Director, please come back again.
Thank you.
Coming up, our political insiders talk the fallout from the mayor's veto and the future for the new Criminal Justice Center next on Indianapolis This Week. Come back to Indianapolis This Week. We welcome now our political insiders, Abdul Hakim Shabazz with IndyPolitics.org, and of course Dan Parker, former state Democratic Party chair. Let's start with that Prop 47. You just heard from the FOP and the mayor's office. Is it a bad move for the mayor to have vetoed that proposition?
No, it's not a bad move for the mayor to veto that proposition, because ultimately the city's fiscal health is what's in order. The reason why we're able to fund police in an early time because we borrowed money from our Fiscal Stability Fund. Had there been proper communication, like Jennifer Pittman said was just out here a few minutes ago, maybe this could have been avoided, but you had to put the money back. You cannot borrow from your savings account to create ongoing expenditures. It's not good for the city, it's not healthy for anybody, and it's bad for public safety.
Do you buy that?
No. I mean,
I'm shocked.
This was a communication. This was a bipartisan vote of the City County Council. The public safety tax increase is supposed to go to public safety. It's not to go backfill for something else. And the problem here is that we've had now 2 public safety tax increases over 7 years in the city of Indianapolis, and we have less officers than we did 7 years ago. And the problem here is the mayor is trying to use this money for something else, and that has to stop.
Yes, because putting money in your Fiscal Stability Fund, which keeps your good credit rating, so the city doesn't have to have.
You're admitting that he's taking it from the public safety tax increase, right?
because that's where the money came from the first place.
So you're going to have new police officers, supposedly,
yes,
but they're not going to have any equipment.
No, they will have their equipment. It's a matter of doing it in the right, doing it in a fiscally responsible way. I know as a Democrat that the term fiscal responsibility sometimes to escape you guys just a little bit.
I don't think so. The fact of the matter here is that the bipartisan vote of the City County Council, it is laughable to say that there was a lack of communication.
No, the mayor made it perfectly clear to these guys.
If he actually picked up the phone once in a while and talked to some
the mayor made it perfectly clear to these guys before they took the vote, hey, if you do this, you're not doing it the right way, I'm going to veto it. They went and did it. It's more likely it got vetoed, and I don't think they have the votes right now as we have this conversation to override it.
I was feeling kind of alone over here. Will there be an override? And if there is an override, what does that mean to have an override of a major piece of policy?
Well, actually, this is probably something that Abdul and I agree on. I don't think the votes are there. You had the City County Council president come out this past week to say that the votes might not be there for a veto override. But it's unfortunate, and I think that this was a case where the mayor might have been a little bit upset over some other things happening in the City County Council, and he took it out on the police officers.
And why wouldn't there be an override? Not that I have a. Why wouldn't there be an override if the Democrats control the council?
Well, you need. I want to say with the City County Council, 2/3 majority, which is about 21-22 votes. A vote to override a mayoral veto is a lot different vote than voting for something in the first place. Just the nature dynamics of any sort of procedural vote. This doesn't mean that the extra money won't be there. It just means it won't be there in this way. It'll be done in a fiscally responsible manner, which is what I thought we all wanted here.
Another major showdown, possibly Monday night. The future of the $1.7 billion Justice Center. A council committee this week voted down that plan, one the mayor has been pushing for very hard. Is this proposal now dead in this session?
From everything I've heard, people are still, nothing is ever dead until the final vote's taken. That's rule number one in politics. I think there is room for everybody to...
That sounds like a bad television drama.
Because sometimes it is. No, I think there's room for all sides and our parties to put this together. I do think the folks who are against this are a little short-sighted. First of all, with the time value of money, it'll never be cheaper to do it today than it will be tomorrow. Number two, I would hope that my Democratic friends, particularly in the wake of the common wage construction debate that's been going on over at the legislature this past week, will take that into account. Because guess what? If you try to hold this off and do it next year, common construction wage, that is repealed, which means now potentially you're looking at lower costs and lower wages. So if you want to do it, you might want to do it now.
Dan, there was a bipartisan study that found that the project was going to have deficits, and there was some concerns about the number. It was like maybe more than $30 million. Whatever the number may be, the concern was with the deficits that this building would have, and that was a concern for some of the Democrats and Republicans.
It is, and the momentum for this project started to stall a few weeks back when
Joe Hawks announced he was running for mayor.
You had two of the leading public safety people on the City County Council come out and say that the project needed to be put on hold. Mary Moriarty Adams and Ben Hunter, bipartisan, and slowly but surely, you've had now the prosecutor, the FOP, and others come out and say that the brakes need to be put on this project, and it comes down to the finances. It's been sold as revenue neutral, and it's not. People are starting to acknowledge there is a deficit with the numbers, and they can't overcome the financing. Now, everybody is in agreement that the facilities need to be replaced, they need to be upgraded. It's the financing of this that is the problem, not the project itself. The mayor does deserve, and the sheriff do deserve, a lot of credit for pushing this. But for the city of Indianapolis perspective, we have to do it right. And that's why Joe Hogshead came out against this particular financing mechanism.
Abdul, you got the last word.
No, Joe Hogshead came out against this particular finance because the firm that Joe Hogshead works with finally recused itself and stopped taking city money. That's why Joe Hogshead could finally come out and talk. I mean, let's all be honest here and call
well, he also came out when the independent analysis came out.
Yeah, let's go ahead and call a spade, and that the mayor's race is what it is. At the end of the day, though, it will never be cheaper to do this today than at any other particular time. And if you want to talk about your costs going up, you will not be able to put this deal together. So if you want your costs increase and more interest to the taxpayers, knock yourselves out.
You wanted something to say, quick?
Under this financing mechanism, there's only two results. Either public safety people are going to be laid off, or the city's going to have to raise taxes again. And that's not a result that any of us want.
Coming up, a Republican primary challenge in the making for Governor Mike Pence. Is that possible? Plus, what about the money being spent to salvage the state's image? Our insiders tackle those topics next on Indianapolis This Week. Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week with Dan Parker and Abdul Hakim Shabazz here at the round table. We now turn to that new PR campaign to help the state's image after that bruising fight over the Religious Freedom Act. The state reaching a preliminary agreement with Porter Novelli, a nationally recognized PR firm. They're working to reach an official contract to design a campaign to target tourists and businesses. The Indiana Economic Development Corporation calls it a push to strengthen Indiana's brand. Our Todd Connor talked to the man heading the IEDC effort.
Let's talk money. How much is this going to cost the state?
Well, that remains to be seen. We're in the process of developing the plan, and you know, and I'm sure your viewers know, that in marketing, you get as much as you essentially want to spend. And our effort here is going to be a nationwide effort, targeted in some respects and broad in other respects. And we expect it to reach internationally as well, because we here at the IDC are so involved in trying to bring businesses from across the world here to Indiana to employ Hoosiers. So it'll be a significant investment, no doubt, but we think the return on the investment will be obvious to all as it plays out.
In your opinion, how much damage is there to repair from the religious freedom debate?
Well, I'm not sure I would use the word damage. I would say it's helped refine the thinking for sure. IEDC and state tourism have wanted to enhance the investment in our state's brand for quite some time, and a number of people questioned whether we should do that. And I think the recent controversy has caused those people to say we should. As I said before, you can't take for granted that people are going to know what Indiana's really all about.
Chris Cottrell, thank you so much. He says the word is not damage, but there had to be some damage during that week of the NCAA double Final Four.
Oh yeah, I mean, as I jokingly wrote in all my column posts, there were consequences and repercussions to this. And by going the Porter Novelli route, I mean, the state did it right. I mean, should the state have to spend, begin spending money, start with that $2 million, it would have been nice if we hadn't been here in the first place, but we are. And you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Indiana has national and global reputation issues, and you need a firm with national and global reach to fix it.
But some would argue that this money could have been spent on something else, so that we created our own problem as a state.
We did create our own problem. The governor and the legislature created this problem. Unfortunately, now the taxpayers of Indiana are having to pay the bill. And first of all, they could have saved $2 million right away by just passing a non-discrimination clause into our civil rights statute. That would be a good first step. But this is just $2 million. We don't know how much this is going to cost. We know that there was money appropriated into the budget. It hasn't passed yet for state tourism. We don't know what the full bill is related to this fallout. And yes, Indiana's reputation suffered tremendous damage, tremendous. And it's going to take a lot more than $2 million in a marketing campaign to fix it.
Give it a price tag. How much more do you think we'll spend?
A lot, but I just want to piggyback.
What's a lot? What's a lot? 5 million, 10 million, 20 million?
I would say it's going to be close to 25 to 30 million.
I would not say tens of 20 millions, but I want to say one thing real quickly. To talk about putting sexual orientation, gender identity into the state code, I support, I believe in it, but that is a long, thoughtful process. It took the city of Indianapolis at least several months to do it.
Then I think we should have a special session to deal with it right now.
Then it's just a matter to do a summer study committee, then come back and do it the first thing next session.
The other big news of the week, of course, in state politics this week, Angie's List CEO Bill Oesterle announcing his resignation and hinting at a political campaign, saying that specifically that he wants to be more civically involved in the state of Indiana. Oesterle was the director of Mitch Daniels' first campaign for governor. What does that mean exactly, civically involved? Does that mean he's going to give money to the Boys and Girls Club? Or does that mean, what does that really mean? What does that mean in English? You've run campaigns before. What does that mean?
Well, this is the side of the aisle that I'm not familiar with. Bill could probably speak much better, but I mean, it sounds like someone who's very he's not happy with what happened. He's not happy in the direction of the Republican Party. He's clearly someone identified closely with Governor Mitch Daniels.
Is the governor weak in the sense of on the political side and the numbers falling?
I think the governor has been weakened. He's still, on all the polling we've seen, still enjoys about 70% support amongst the Republicans, so he hasn't totally lost his base, but he's still got
spin.
Yeah, but he's still got a long way to go. And I don't think Bill Oesterle
will he face a primary challenger, and could it be?
I don't think so. I spoke to Bill Oesterle this week, and from what I was able to pick up from our conversations, I did not think a gubernatorial run is in his future. He had made up his mind what he wants to do, but he didn't sound like somebody who was gangbusters on running for governor. He does sound like somebody who would set up a political action committee and maybe that would challenge some of the more far right folks in the legislature. There's already been a pact formed to go after Scott Schneider, Republican in Lawrence, who was one of the RFRA authors.
He is damaged. He's weakened. Will he get a primary challenge? I think that's yet to be seen. Does the state suffer further economic fallout from this? Does Does it damage our state tax revenue even further? Do we have to spend more money to repair our brand? Those are things that are going to really seal Mike Pence's fate.
And who would have thought with supermajorities that we would be talking about these issues, right? We talked about back in January, this is supposed to be the year of education. Things just went off the rails.
Well, we're getting education, all right. And as much as I like for my friends in the legislature to have their supermajority, you know, with great power comes great responsibility, if I can quote Spider-Man first thing in the day here. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're going to have the power to do this stuff, that's fine, but you got to govern wisely.
You can't say that with a guy named Parker next to you.
You got to govern wisely, and you got to govern judiciously. I mean, it's that simple. And Republicans will freely admit, the Speaker and Senate President, that, hey, guess what? We should have listened to our Democratic colleagues when we said, hey, maybe we ought to just put some safeguards in here.
You can be part of our conversation anytime. The debate continues on Twitter. Join Mary Beth, Dan, Abdul, Lara, and Jennifer on Twitter and use the hashtag IndyThisWeek. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Tomorrow, RTV6 will continue its commitment to covering what's happening now in central Indiana. We'll kick off our new newscast, The Now Indy, at 4 p.m. Please join me and our new team member, Candice Aviles, for the news at 4. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll be back here next Sunday on our brand new set. Today also marks 20 years since the Oklahoma City bombing, a blast that killed 168 people, including 19 children. We leave you with the images from the Oklahoma City Memorial, including the chairs to remember those who died on that horrific day in American history.